What's up, YouTube? So today I'm going to be walking through how I signed my first client at 16 and how you can too. Brought to you by Chef Alex, got a new hat. See what's up. So before we get started, I'll give a little bit of a story on who I am. I'm a 16-year-old. I am from Ontario, Canada, and I have been in the SMMA space for coming up on around 9-10 months now. And here are just a few pictures of me. You got my screen where I've built everything that I have. I'm sitting at it right now, and there's an image of what you can see on the other end. My mastermind here, chatting with my friend Matt Waterloo and reading a book. Right, I have scaled an appointment setting agency, and I work with agency owners to help them get appointments. I've worked with e-com, I've worked with brick and mortar, I've worked with restaurants. I've done pretty well everything in the appointment setting world. I specialize in Instagram appointment settings, and I was recently able to scale my agency to the point where I can, do online school. So this is my situation before SMMA. So I was addicted to video games. I was out of shape. I was washing dishes at a restaurant, and I was unsure what my next step was. Then I was scrolling YouTube, and I saw this video, and I'm sure you've seen this as well. This is Iman Gaji's best business model video, and I went down the Iman Gaji rabbit hole. After I made my way out, I had wasted about a week consuming information that wasn't applied, and I decided to reach out to every single creator I could find on Instagram, YouTube, and I just sent them a video message of me talking about how much their content really helped me. And I got lots of great beginner tips, but what I also got was sold into a lot of their programs. So my back was against the wall. I was and might still be a misfit. I, wasn't going to return to in-person school. I was laughed at for losing all my money on this course that I got rinsed for, and I was labeled a entrepreneur with a failing business. And this really burned my soul. I felt alone, but I was also ignited with this new knowledge that I wasn't sure if it was good or not because, all this criticism coming from outside. And after a few days of moping in my own pain, anyways, got people making fun of me, I can just at least take action. And I was intimidated to learn ads when I first started, so I decided to do the only thing that made sense to me, which was just set appointments for agencies. So threw together whatever I had. I had a bad outreach script, I had no defined niche, and I had 24 hours in the day. So I wanted to dedicate as much of that time as possible to outreach because it was the only thing I knew. And I might as well just put all my time to that because even if I did get a client, I'd just be doing more outreach for them. And 9 days later, and 150 outreaches for like every follow-up as well for 9 days, I'd landed my first client. And it wasn't much. It was a full commission deal. But to me, this was the world. And it was the start of something that, really allowed me to get ahead and propel myself. And, it was the first time I could look at, my friends, my parents, everyone who looked at me and doubted me a little bit and just say, hey, I've made my first little step. And it was a eureka. Right, I realized that if I did 500 outreaches, I get an appointment. And after doing 500 outreaches over and over and over and over again, it got a lot easier to actually get these appointments. And it becomes easier to get on calls, and it gets easier to get more clients. And I really felt like I was starting to get a role. And I felt like I was truly an entrepreneur. I felt like I was getting into the business world. And I recently began helping people in 30-day RC challenge. So this is jump forward 6 months after doing outreach, scaling, working with people, making an impact in the agency space. I recently began helping in the RC 30-day challenge, which is a program that is now closed for the time being. And what we do in there was help people go from absolutely nothing at all to their first client. And I saw people who were in the same situation as me, right? These were people who were misfits, people who were laughed at, and they might have lost money on a course, and they was really their last resort in order to get their first client. And they had gone from having no agency at all, having nothing, and honestly a lot of burns on their portfolio into getting their first client in 2 weeks. And what I realized is that all these people had just a few things in common, right? Everyone came from different ethnicities, different places of the world, different skin color, different skin tone. Everything was different with these people. The absolutely only thing that I saw in common with these people was what they did. And what that was is they picked a niche in a service and set up a profile to do and start their outreach in under 48 hours. They crafted an organic message and just a concise outreach script, and they spent 2 weeks sending 50 outreaches per day. And of all these people, so people from Africa, people from Asia, people from everywhere across the world, young, old, big, tall, fat, got their first client. So I'd love to sell you an elaborate dream of cold email, of all this stuff, but if you haven't got your first client, it is very simple. If you can do these things, You can send these 100 outreaches a day or 50 outreaches a day for 2 weeks, and you haven't got an appointment or you haven't got sales calls. I will give you something in return, and you can, message me, and I will consult you for free until you get your first client. You can show me proof that you've done that and you haven't gotten results, because I've seen so many people who are in the same situation that you might be in right now and that I was in myself go from absolutely nothing to something, and those were the only things that I saw in common. There was no VAs, just pure sweat equity and sending their outreach messages. And if this is you, if you're a hardworking individual, which I hope you are if you're watching this video, this should fully excite you. This should make you happy. This should make you eager, right? To know that outside of all this YouTube stuff that I'm doing and all these videos that on the other end of 50 outreaches per day and your follow-ups for 2 weeks, you will land your first free trial client, which you can eventually put onto a commission, which will be the first step, the first foot in the door that you make to get a successful agency and to eventually achieve your dreams of financial freedom or whatever you want to do with your money. So all you have to know is that everything you want is on the other end of those messages. And I wanted to make this video just to share, honestly, what I think is the biggest thing. I know there's no sauce in this video, no advanced strategy is going to change your life, but I just wanted to spit some truth, because I see there's a lot of people who might be confused in the space. And just reflecting on the past few weeks in this 30-day challenge, I realized that my story wasn't a unique one, and that honestly, if you just put the work in, you block out, you tunnel on your one recipe, you will be good to go. And just to end off the video, I will give a little analogy that my friend Dylan made, who I think is an incredible individual, and I think this analogy is great, so I'm going to steal it. What he told me is, when someone is trying to learn how to start a business, especially SMMA, because he was one of the owners of the first client challenge, what they'll end up doing is they'll grab, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even a little bit more, right? So they'll grab 4 recipes, and all they're trying to do is bake one cake. So if we've got one cake, we don't need 4 recipes. But what a lot of people will try and do is that instead of aligning their one cake to the recipe, what they try and do is they try and take a little bit from each part and they try and mix and mash it together. And by trying to combine all these playbooks, they get a cluster of just a bunch of stuff, right? They follow Serge Guattari's outreach script, but with Joel Kaplan's profile setup, with, Karsten Fox's, cold email and automations. Like, they just try all these recipes that all work. All these recipes work. They will all get you a cake. But what people try and do is they try and blend all the recipes together. And if they just followed one of the recipes, they would get results. So what I want to do is just let you know, and the whole point of this video is that if you find your one recipe, you're going to pick one recipe, you're going to pick one creator. It can be me, it can be anyone. I don't mind. And you're going to follow everything that they say. In my case, I believe that everything you want is on the other end of these outreaches. You don't need a niche. You don't need a website. You need a niche, but you don't need a website. You don't need, profiles. You don't need reels. You don't need any of it. All you need to do is create a profile on whatever platform, Facebook or Instagram, and just send your messages. That's what I believe and what my recipe is. And I believe that if you do that, you will get your cake. But do not combine people's recipes as, chef here, because if you do, you will not get this one cake. You're going to get a whole bunch of mixed cakes with the wrong toppings, the wrong seeds, the wrong everything. So that is today's video. I hope you take this as inspiration to know that, the situation you're in is not unique to you. And I don't mean that in a way saying that anyone's better than you. I'm saying that everyone has gone through this and they can see, and I hope you can see, that there's an other end to it. And that other end is simple. You just need to find your recipe. And I hope you find your recipe. I'm the chef, so I got a pretty good recipe. And you follow that recipe to a T. My recipe is free. It's all on my YouTube. Dylan Wilson's recipe is free. It's all on their YouTube. Joel Kaplan's recipe is free. It's all on their YouTube. Serge Guattari, it's free. It's all on their YouTube. But you're gonna find that recipe and you're gonna follow it. You're not gonna defer from that recipe. You're just gonna follow it, because they all have successful agencies. They all know what they've done. They've all taught people to do what they've done. But if you're in a situation where you've tried a bunch of things for months and it hasn't worked, your issue is most likely that you're mixing recipes. So, brought to you by Chef Alex. I hope now you can make your cake and get your first client. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.